We are going on the air now.
Oh. You can call in too if you want.
All right,
And leave the audio up.
Everybody's up. We're on the air, folks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Selectmen's meeting called to order at 5 p.m. April 6, 2020.
Okay.
At this time, I'd like to take a roll call. Sheila?
Here.
Ed? Ed can't hear me, but I know I see him, so he's here. Mike?
Ed can hear you, but he can't. We're having problems with audio, so he can hear, but he can't talk.
Okay. Mike?
I'm here.
Okay. Pat?
I'm here.
And I'm here, Alan. Good evening, everyone. This is a virtual.
Okay. Bye.
This is the virtual Board of Selectmen's meeting. We are using the Zoom conferencing format. The agenda on the town's website has the information needed for the public to participate by Zoom, conferencing format, or telephone. If you wish to participate through Zoom, you can join Zoom meeting. The meeting ID is 837-482-590. You can also dial in by phone on the East Coast at 929-205-6099, or in the rest of the United States at 301-715-8592. You'll be asked to enter the meeting ID number, which is 837-482-590, followed by the pound sign. If you are conferencing in by phone or through Zoom and watching this on cable or YouTube, you must turn down your volume, or we will have nothing but feedback. As always, you can watch us on the television on channel 1301 or stream us on YouTube at Kennebunkport Television. During the meeting, only the selectmen and the town manager will be on screen with audio connected. All other participants will be blacked out and the audio muted except when the board solicits public input. I ask that the public take turns when talking, allow others an opportunity to talk once you have made your point, and identify yourself when talking. We appreciate your support and patience as we rework our public meeting process to allow for the public to input while we carry on necessary town business. Item 2, discussion of social distancing compliance in public spaces. I'd like to holler at the chief a little bit about what's going on and how the public distancing is working in Goose Rocks Beach, the Colony Beach, Dock Square, Cape Porpoise, Pier, public parks and spaces. There?
I am, sir.
Yeah. Could you kind of give us an update to let us know how things are going and moving?
So currently, things are going pretty well. We had some hiccups, I would say Friday afternoon into Saturday. We had a lot of traffic at Goose Rocks Beach. You know, there was, most folks were abiding by, the executive orders that were put down by the federal government and the state. But, there were quite a few people that, were not following those. So, we made the decision and took some efforts to limit the parking down at Goose Rocks Beach, and that seemed to work very well. Yesterday and today, we monitored those locations, and it worked very well. We did have, a few issues at Cape Porpoise Pier. Cape Porpoise Pier, we had, some of the lobstermen are trying to sell lobsters, but, people were crowding around, and then some of the fishermen, had to be reminded of the social distancing. We did limit some parking at Cape Porpoise Pier, and today it seemed to be, a good thing, other than a lot of fishermen were out because it was the first good weather that they could fish in about a week. Colony Beach, we had some issues. We got called by Kennebunk on Saturday because of surfers and other recreational folks were entering the water and parking at Colony Beach and then headed over to Kennebunk and violating their restrictions over there. We had a lot of folks that, were making non-essential travel. up, and it was decided to take away that parking as well. And that seems to have worked out quite well. We've, put a lot of no parking signs around, trying to keep people moving as best we can. And right now, I think things are pretty good for the last couple of days.
Thanks, Chief. Anybody have any questions for the chief or any comments about this?
No, I think it's working good. I've been over there every day, twice a day, and it's, excuse me, I'll turn that off. There were no cars there today, and there were very few people on the beach, and it didn't look like anybody was trying to get around the no parking thing. So, and Colony was the same. So I think it's working.
Yeah, I
Thank
think it
you. That was good, and Lori, thanks, and Alan.
Well, I think it's working pretty well. I mean, I'd rather do the no parking thing than close the beach. And I think by
Yes,
eliminating the parking, I think it's doing the job.
there were no issues on the beach. I could see, I mean, I've been over there twice. Actually, I was there the same time that our police officers were there, and about the same time, 2:30, 2:45, the second time, and there were few people on the beach, but no problems, nothing.
Anybody else?
Chief, perhaps you could just talk about an interaction you had down at the beach to give people a taste for some of the people who are coming here.
So today, I was monitoring the location down at Goose Rocks Beach, and I was approached by somebody that said somebody had illegally parked. I went and found the folks. They were from Illinois and had come up to spend the day on the beach. They had the beach chairs and everything, were eating their lunch on the beach, and I had to remind them of the executive order, how they were violating it, and that they were supposed to be self-quarantined for 2 weeks. They did not have a house up here and said that they often will stay at the Tides, but the Tides is closed. So I had to remove them from the beach and educate them, as well as warn them about illegally parking down at Goose Rocks Beach.
And that was the only incident so far?
That's the only one so far, yes, sir.
Great. That's pretty good. That's real good, actually. Any more comments or questions about this? No, hearing none? Okay, we'll go to item 3. Consider adoption of emergency paid sick leave policy. I'm going to pass that over to Laurie to discuss the policy.
Yes, so with the new federal legislation, Families First Coronavirus Response Act, there are policies that we need to put in place. One is relative to the emergency paid sick leave policy, and it will allow, it allows employees who are working full-time up to 80 hours of paid sick leave in connection with COVID-19. We had already put a policy in place. This one's a little more generous, but it also, in the policy, identifies how we will implement this and who is covered as an eligible employees. Public safety responders are exempt in the policy.
Lori,
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is above what they actually have as their own sick leave? So
Yes.
they would be able to get 80 hours of sick leave above what they are carrying for their sick leave. And it's
Correct.
only going to be for the people who get sick? I mean, I don't know how, I'm
Right.
just thinking of the fairness of it.
Yep, and so this is a federal act, and so we are required to abide by it. What the policy does is state how we will implement it. But eligibility includes if someone is required to local quarantine related to COVID-19, if they are told by a healthcare provider to quarantine, if they have actual symptoms and are seeking a medical diagnosis, if the individual has a child whose school or daycare has closed and they need to care for that child, and if you have any similar symptoms. So those are all what are required under the federal. If you're a part-time regular employee, you would get a pro rata share of sick leave. So if I worked 20 hours, I would get a week, then I would get 40 hours of sick leave versus 80.
Okay,
Um,
I was just wanting to make that clear.
Yes, so this is above what employees get on their own.
Okay, thank you.
Any more
Laurie?
questions?
This is just a housekeeping thing. Is this the actual document? Because there's a small typo in it.
Yes, this is the actual document. Where's the
If you look
typo?
under compensation during EPSL, it says on the bottom of the paragraph, it says the secretary 4 to 6 above will pay up to, and it's spelled T-O,
Oh.
and then a space, and it's
We're missing the
W-O.
T. Yep,
That's all.
okay.
But I have no issues with it. I think it's a very generous and a very good idea for us to take care of our employees.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm looking for a motion.
I move we adopt this as written, with the minor typo correction.
And I'll second.
Okay, go ahead.
Sheila Ed makes a motion, and Sheila seconds it. Okay, any more final discussion before the vote? Hearing none, I'm going to call roll call for the vote. Sheila,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and Al and I. Motion carries. Okay. So item 4, consider adoption of the COVID-19 FMLA expansion. I think Lori wants to talk about this.
Yep, the FMLA is the Family Medical Leave Act, and probably many of you are familiar with that. What happened with the federal Families First Coronavirus Response Act, that they made an expansion to the family medical leave, and the expansion is relative to coronavirus. And what this allows is that you can have up to 12 weeks of protected leave if it is relative to COVID-19. And there are eligibility requirements that you have to meet. But it also is for a variety of things similar to the emergency paid sick leave. The first 2 weeks you are unpaid, but you can use the emergency sick leave on it. If you think of these as layering, so you could use the emergency sick leave to pay for the first 2 weeks. And then after that, you get 10 weeks of pay, which is 2/3 of your pay, but then it will have a maximum daily amount. So this is in concert with and certainly in compliance with the new federal law. Our policy does specify how we will do that, and we have new application forms that our attorney has reviewed. And so just because somebody applies doesn't mean everybody's getting 12 weeks off. It means that, we are required to evaluate that, and we will, and see how they fit within these criteria.
So after the 2 weeks, getting paid through the first proposal, after that, if they're out, do they use their own sick leave and time, or how does that work?
So the federal law says that the employer will pay them 2/3 of their normal pay, up to $200 per day and $10,000 total. So if you had some additional sick leave on the bank or vacation time, you could add to that with your own time to get, add another 1/3 of your pay that way, and to
Okay.
get 100%. But the employer is required to do 2/3 without
the
impacting
employer,
their
meaning-
accrued time.
Meaning the town
Yep.
is paying for this over and above what they're carrying for sick
Any of
leave?
their accrued time. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So do you think that we would be reimbursed by the feds or no?
For this FMLA expansion time,
Yeah, yes.
I wouldn't be holding your breath,
Okay.
but I would think
No,
that,
not after they pay for all of the little businesses.
right,
Yeah.
right. So certainly we are tracking as an employer and as a municipality our expenses related to COVID-19. And you can see that the governor asked for a declaration and that was approved. But we are one small microcosm in the United States, and so how much money they actually have and how they choose to fund these, we are anticipating that there will be some reimbursements, but those are yet to be defined. I mean, Chief, as EMA Director, do you have anything to add to that?
Nope.
No? Okay. Okay.
Nope.
So anybody else have any questions about this? Okay.
No, I
Go ahead.
think it's just another program to help out our
Yeah.
people and our towns, yeah.
So I'm looking for a motion to adopt the policy.
So
Motion.
moved.
Yeah.
Ed
Second.
moves it. Sheila seconds it. Any more discussion? Hearing none. Proceed to vote. Ed,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Sheila,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Alan says aye. The motion carries. Okay. Other business. Sheila,
None?
Ed,
Oh, yes. One
okay.
thing, Almost forgot. Got a phone call from Chris Audley, who is still in Louisiana. Just checking in and saying that he's very happy. He's very happy with all of us for moving or keeping the town safe and doing what we have to do in order to keep the town safe. And he thanked me and thanked all of us for it.
Oh.
And it was a nice conversation.
That's good. I like,
He's a good guy.
yeah, I like
Yeah.
Chris. He is a nice guy.
But he, poor guys in Louisiana, they're afraid to get on a plane.
How about you, Ed?
I have nothing this evening.
Pat,
No, sir, nothing.
Mike?
No, nothing.
I don't have anything, so I bet Lori might have something.
Yes. So I just wanted to talk about public meetings. So right now we've been doing only the selectmen meetings. So one thing is the planning board process. So Werner and I spent some time today talking about whether to move forward with that or not. I would say most towns and cities aren't doing planning board at this point, but I have seen a couple. Planning board is a quasi-judicial process, and so there are concerns about making sure that the public has the ability to have input in that decision-making process. And I've been concerned about moving forward with planning board meetings because if we were to take a misstep, we could impact somebody's project, even if they got approved through the planning board process. That could cause some real challenges. So if we were interested in moving forward, it would take us probably a few weeks to set up the first planning board. There were 3 projects on the last agenda back on March 18th, I believe. And one of those was a public hearing, so we would need to send a butter notices again, tell people how they can have input in the process. We would need to share the information with the public in a different way than we have done in the past. So that would probably, we're saying, probably at the end of April, we could have a meeting. Warner is talking to the planning board members about their ability to conduct a meeting in this format, and he's going to touch base with the applicants to see if their projects are still moving forward. We have one project that wasn't on an agenda yet. I'd say it's in the bullpen, and he's going to touch base with them as well. The question is, how long will this go on? And so I'm not sure when the governor will allow people to meet again in public as we've done in meetings. And so if we are looking at May, maybe it makes sense to wait. If we're looking at July before the governor would let us meet again in public like that, we might want to start the process. And I just wanted to talk to you guys about it before we took any action.
Well, I'm in favor of waiting till at least the end of the month.
My concern, Laurie, is that since it is driven in some part by public input, that it may put us in a position that we don't want to be in legally if somebody is not happy with the decision that they received, or somebody didn't feel as though they were able to put their input in before a final decision was made. And I don't think that this is essential business at this point. You know, we
My
go on
question-
months and months.
My question is there anybody who is an applicant now, or anybody else who is in a hardship position?
I don't know that hardship is how I would identify it. One of them was an amendment to a subdivision. I don't know how that impacts them. I would say that, I've certainly talked to Amy about these concerns, and I think she sees that we could do it. She's not advising us to not do it, but to take measures that would lengthen the process and make sure that public input is allowed. The problem is it will take us, 2 to 3 weeks to get a meeting up and going. So if we say we don't want to do that until the end of April, are we at the end of April? I wouldn't be doing it until sometime in May. You know what I mean? If we make that decision. So we are weighing those risks. I think we have to do it very methodically and purposefully, but we could certainly do it. It's just, it will take a while to happen. So it's not something we can decide in the next week. I could have a meeting.
Okay.
So if we wait till the end of the month to make that decision, then
It's going to be another month before it's activated.
another 4 weeks after that, do you think? Or do you think a couple, like the middle of May?
I'm
Or-
thinking, it depends on when we decide. Why don't, I have Werner reaching out to the applicants and we'll get some feedback.
Okay.
And we're gonna meet 2 more times this week, so
So let's wait. Let's
we
wait.
can, we can talk about it again, but I just wanted you to be aware that's something on the radar that I've been working on as well.
Okay.
Great.
So I'm not
Great.
done yet.
Oh.
So, speaking about public meetings, the budget process. So as you'll remember a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks, feels like a lifetime ago, but it was a couple weeks
It does.
ago that I said, let's put the budget process on hold, thinking that we would have a better sense of where we are in April, and we could respond better to the budget process. I would say, sitting here today, that I do not feel I'm in any better position to tell you, where to go from this point. I don't know how long this is going to last. I don't know, what kind of budget you guys want to see. I'm trying not to go too much, one end or the other and pretend everything's the same and put the same proposed budget, or do a very draconian budget that could have longer lasting impacts than the return of normal could be. I did conference with the RSU and the 2 other towns. Kennebunk went through their public hearing and they wrapped up their budget process prior to this really beginning. They're re-examining that budget. And Arundel is, of course, still in their budget development process, and they're examining that. And the school is reviewing their proposed budget in new eyes as well. So I just wanted to touch base. We can continue to wait. The governor has, in the legislature, I should say, changed the law so that we can enter July, the new fiscal year, with the budget that we currently have intact. And then we can adopt a new budget if we had to. That would be worst case scenario. Word on the street is that the June election is not going to take place the way it normally does. And then I think the state is looking at ways to make that written ballot by mail only election. But we haven't received final word on that. So June election seems a little iffy anyway right now. So I'm just wanted, again, some feedback from you guys and get a sense of where you are on the budget development process and whether you want to begin again or you want to continue to wait.
No, I'm good with waiting for a while to see how
Me
this
too.
shakes out and what kind of an effect it has on the local and the national and state economies.
Yeah.
I
That may-
agree.
I agree.
I
Yeah.
also,
I think
yeah,
every week is different. It seems the changes are incredible. So I think another week or two, and we'll know better what's going on.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Lori's got enough on her plate right this second.
Absolutely.
I concur. Anything else?
Motion to
No?
adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Second,
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Sheila,
aye.
Alan says aye. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Good night.